Welcome everybody to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor. Today we're going to talk about how to be intentional with your time. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm Belinda Sandor. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm the founder of the VA Connection, where I coach and mentor established and aspiring virtual assistants to have the business of their dreams, the business they've always wanted. And I work with my students in my free online community, my courses, and my coaching programs. And today I'm going to be your host for Lessons from the Cockpit. This is my weekly live stream that airs every Tuesday at 10:30. And I'm going to share tactical and practical advice that you can use in your VA business, whether you've been doing this for a while or you're just getting started. And I'd love to hear where you're coming in from, so please put that in the comments. We are streaming live everywhere. We are on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell. Ring the bell, because we have free live trainings every single week, and I don't want you to miss out. So I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about being intentional about your time. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was a couple of minutes late, and it was because I was being intentional with my time. and I'm going to explain how that works, because sometimes being intentional with our time means that we stop thinking about everything else that we're doing, and really, not sometimes, it always works out that we focus really in a laser way on the most important thing that we're going to do. And that's what I was doing. I was very focused on something that I'm going to spend my day doing today. And I looked up and it was 10:30 and I went, wow, so I thought that was pretty ironic, right? So before we dive in, I want to introduce myself, tell you a little bit more about me, and please keep the comments coming. I can see a lot of you are here, which is very exciting. A lot of you are here. That's great. Okay, good. So this is me and my delicious daughter, who's now 22. I just saw her Sunday, which was actually Saturday. I saw her. We were together for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the long holiday, Thanksgiving, American holiday weekend. And it was great. And this was us when I was just starting out. My life had taken an unexpected turn. I was sliding into my 50th birthday, and I don't know about you, but I've always had these expectations. I mean, I love to plan. I love my whole day's planned, my Friday's planned, and part of that works in our favor for being intentional with our time. But for me, it's really a comfort level of knowing what's going to happen next, and thinking through my life and my days. So here I am, I'm turning 50, and I had plans, right? I was going to be happily married. I was going to have a family. I was going to be a homeowner. Retirement would be underway, meaning I would have started to save money. There would be a plan for that. And I'd have a great job. All of this seems really reasonable, right? I'd have a car, and instead what happened was I'm sliding into 50 and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, OMG, because I don't have a job. I have a business that's failed. I'm getting divorced. I have to sell my house because I haven't paid the mortgage in over a year. I have 7 years of back taxes to file. And, if any of you are in a similar situation, that it doesn't happen because you're being a slouch. It doesn't happen overnight. It's one of those things that, I just kept thinking, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work faster. I'm going to, this. And I just was thinking about it constantly, but it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And it wasn't until I finally just, hit the stop button and said, what is going on here, that I was able to make a change. But I definitely had to hit the pause button for more than a couple of minutes to look around and say, what is going on? Where I'm turning 50 years old. This is not where I want to be, and start to be intentional. And intentional with my time, which we're going to talk about today, intentional with my money, intentional with, with everything. That was really at the root of it. So I decided that I wanted to be a virtual assistant. I didn't even know what that was. And honestly, I didn't call myself that right away because I'd never heard of it. So this was in 2010. 13 years ago, and the world was very different. I mean, just keep in mind, Google, there was no Google, all right? There was no Google. We were using Alta Vista, and there was no Waze. All the things that we run our life with today had not been invented. And so I knew how to do admin work. I'd gone to secretarial school when I was in my 20s, and I just love this whole idea of I'm a helper. Right? I'm a helper. So if I could help people with administrative work, that would be great. So, and I knew a job wasn't going to cut it, right? Because somebody in some office is going to be the one that's telling me how much money I can earn and whether I can get a raise or a bonus or anything like that. And I really wanted to make the shift from earning money to creating money. And that's a shift that entrepreneurs have to make, right? From earning money to making money, like creating money. And so that's what I decided that I wanted to do. So I returned to my roots, which is administrative support, and I started telling everybody I knew what I was up to. And I was at the school bus stop one day, and one of the dads said to me, what's new? He's making small talk, right? And I say, well, I'm going to start, I'm starting this business. I want to do admin work, blah, blah, blah. I explained a little bit to him about it, and his entire face changed. And he just looked at me and said, we have to talk. He had started a business. I had no idea. And what's ironic, and this is so, I know you guys are doing this too, is like I was shooting myself in the foot. If I had known he had started a business, I probably wouldn't have told him about mine, because I would have been afraid that he would think that I wanted something from him, which was why I was telling him, which is ridiculous, because I was absolutely 100% the solution to his problem. He was drowning in administrative stuff. His wife was losing her mind. She had 3 kids and a job too. And she's trying to help him, and he's, it's not working. It's not working. So I went in, I paid his bills, I set up his QuickBooks, I ran errands for him, whatever I could do. It was part virtual and part I went to his office. And that's okay to do a hybrid, especially when you're first trying to figure it out. The second client I met at the reception line of the buffet line of a wedding. So I'm standing there, I'm making chit chat, and I tell, this person I'm talking to, he says, what are you doing? I said, well, I have a client, I'm doing admin work. And I connected with him on LinkedIn the next day, which again, I am introverted. I just don't want to bother people. Right. And so I didn't think it was a good idea to connect on LinkedIn, but I was having a moment like, you know what? Just do something different, because what you're doing, your business is starting, but if you really want this to work, you're just going to have to break out of what's comfortable. So I connected with him on LinkedIn, and then he reached out to me and we worked together. We're still working together, and, and have a great relationship. We're friends, and you just never know. So the big takeaway here, and I tell this story every time we get together, because I want you to stop making flyers. I want you to stop walking around town meeting all the business owners. I want you to stop putting your business card up at the deli. That's not how you get clients. So stop prospecting, stop trying to figure it out, and just tell everybody that you know about your work, and that's how it's going to take off. All right? That's how it's going to take off. Yeah. So I leaned in, I changed my mindset, and I started keeping my word to myself. And that's a big theme that I talk about a lot, because we let ourselves off the hook. And what happens is we think, oh, I'm tired. I'm not going to work on my business tonight. But then all we're doing is prolonging the agony. The actual feeling of momentum of working on your business and getting things done is so exhilarating. And when you start to get momentum and you start to get clients and money rolling in, there's nothing like it. So if you're, wavering on jumping in with both feet, go ahead and do it. You're going to be really glad that you did. So I built, systems that supported the business as I went along. The first year I was in business, I made $70,000, and every year for the next 10 years, I earned I created $100,000 every single year for the next 10 years. And the systems that I developed and the methods that I used to create and run my own business, it's what I teach at the VA Connection. And I would love to teach you too. So let's see who's here. Okay, awesome. All right, I'm looking at the comments. So hello. Oh, Carrie's here from snowy Iowa. Frederica is here from Amsterdam. Hello, Mary. Hello. Maria is here. That's great. Mary, hello. Deanna. Oh, good. So Deanna says, Addie and I are at the gym with you on our headphones. Hello, hello. I love that. See, multitasking, right? For sure. Multitasking in a good way, right? They're only using their brain for one thing, right? Okay. Good. Good morning from South Carolina. Hello, Heather from Chattanooga. All right. And Carol is here. This is great. Talara, Keisha, hello, hello. Tammy, Lori, Harlan is here. Awesome. And Deanna says, hashtag relatable. And yeah, Tammy, right? It's crazy how we are afraid to share what we do because we don't want people to think we're trying to sell to them, right? And here's my rule about feeling like you're selling to someone. Just don't sell to them. Just tell them about it, right? I got a new dog. I started a new business. It's kind of the same thing, and it's all this like nonsense that we put in our head about this that makes it hard. So if you don't want to be icky, don't be icky. If you don't want to sell, don't sell, right? It's just all happens in here. Okay. It all happens in here. All right. So I've been in business since 2010. I've worked with over 220 clients. I should change the slide. The thing that I realize is that I've billed over 20,000 hours and earned over $1 million. And it is out there. And I have to tell you, there's plenty of work. So if you're looking around and you're seeing some congestion, in this field, you're just looking in the wrong spots, and I can help you find those spots where the clients are. All right. And this is a different picture. So I got divorced and I got remarried. This is my husband, Greg. These are our kids, David, Charlie, looking at Emily, Stephen, and Andy. And our family is expanding. So David, this little, he's not little, he's actually like 6'4" or something. He's super tall, is going to be a dad. And Andy over here is getting married, and our family is expanding, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And mostly, I can breathe again. I'm going to just tell you a story because, and then we'll get into this because what I'm going to talk about is important. But, for years and years and years, there was just never enough money, and I couldn't be generous. And I hated that. I really did. And this morning, my nephew, Tommy, he wants to run the Boston Marathon. And in order to earn a bib, the number, he has to raise $7,500. And the request came in today, and I thought about it, and only for a minute, because the thought was, I want to help him. So I made a donation that I feel comfortable with. And I reveled in that moment. Like, because I leaned into my business, because I'm out there helping other people with their businesses, I'm able to help my nephew. So I made a donation, and it's not going to take away, my cell phone's not going to get turned off. I can still buy groceries, right? I can still pay the bills, and I can support him. And that feels so good. So that's a result of having a business. So if you think that it feels selfish in any way, it does. It is selfish in that I now get to be. This is, I don't know if you guys are going to understand the way my brain works and thinking that's selfish. But what I'm trying to say is, I selfishly get the good feeling of giving money to Tommy, and that's a feeling for me, right? And that came from putting in the work and doing what you need to do, to get the job done. So think about that. Think about that. Yeah, Tammy says created. Hello. We have two Tammys. So we have Tammy Schaefer, yes, and then we have Tammy in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Both of our Tammys are here. That's great. Good. Yes. So Lori says you are blessed to bless others. Yes, that is one of my favorite things, about being a successful business owner. And it was so worth the work is that, Emily says to me, my daughter, I need this. Can I have it? And I take a second and I think, you bet you can. And it's not always yes, but it's yes way more than it used to be. So the yeses are, I get the benefit of saying yes. And my life has absolutely changed as a result of having a successful virtual assistant business, but so have the lives of people around me. And that just makes me so happy. I can't even tell you. All right. So let's talk about time. All right. Now, time is important. And you've probably heard the saying, we all have the same 24 hours, right? And while that's true, it really varies it greatly varies how we think about time and how to use our own 24 hours. And I got to tell you, it's really easy to let hours, days, and weeks go by and when, wonder where the time's gone. And I'd love to know if any of you have had that experience. I kind of had that over Thanksgiving because I got out of my routine, and I really noticed a difference in how I felt and what I was getting accomplished and so many things as a result of that. So I really have a pretty strict time routine that I adhere to in order to get things done, right? So I've also had the experience, and I know you have too, and I'd love to hear, of feeling victimized by time, like there's not enough and somehow it's out of my control. But that's not true. You are in control. You are 100% in control. And, the older I get, the more my thinking has shifted about time. I take responsibility, and I now say things like, instead of I didn't have time, I didn't use my time. I didn't take the time. I didn't schedule the time, because it's got to be proactive. It's like a verb here, what we do with time, and shifting my thinking in that way and shifting my language has really put a whole new outlook on how I feel about time, because it's a resource, right? And we get to decide how we're going to use it. It's just like money too. That just occurred to me. It's a resource, and we attach emotions and feelings and all this stuff to it, but it's a resource, just like anything else, and you want to design your life to use this valuable resource that you have so that you can hit your goals and have the experiences that you want, right? But to do that, you need to be very intentional. You're also going to need to factor in your priorities, right? So let's talk about 3 places to start. So the first thing I want you to do, and this is such a big deal, you guys, so really take this in, okay? I want you to evaluate your chores, all right? And because I was raised in a way that, like, you make your bed every morning, everything gets put away, you live a very well-ordered life. My life is no longer well-ordered. I've been home when did I get home? Midnight, Sunday night. I have not unpacked my suitcase from our trip, and I do not know if I'm going to do it today. It's not hurting anyone. I have plenty of clothes, and I'm working on this freebie all about networking for you guys that I am thrilled about, and I can't wait to roll out. And for me, that's much more rewarding and fun and generous and, all the things than my suitcase, which, if it really bugged Greg in any way, I would handle it. He cares zero. He jokes. He's like, are you just going to leave it there for our next trip? So look at your chores, think about what you should be doing and how you're spending your time. I once talked to a VA and she was saying that she found she had a rule that she had to clean out her personal email inbox every morning before she could start working on her business. Whoa, right? So first of all, the headspace of going through all that stuff has got to be an energy sink, right? And in addition, she wasn't able to focus, right? And she wasn't able to get a lot done. So put the important things first. Put the important things first. Absolutely. And, and also think about stuff like the grocery store. How many times are you going to the grocery store every week? How many times are you, running errands that if you just sat down and thought about it for a minute, you could handle them for a whole week? So think about chores. I used to iron cloth napkins. Don't do that anymore. Got the kind that don't wrinkle. Small things add up. So don't feel like, and a lot of times we feel like we don't have big enough chunks of time, so we put things off. Well, how you get big chunks of time is you walk to your desk when you wake up in the morning after you eat breakfast, and you leave your bed unmade maybe, or you take a quicker shower, or you leave your suitcase or whatever it is to handle later. Like a good time to unpack my suitcase is probably 10 o'clock at night, because I'm not going to really be using my brain in any kind of productive way anyway. And I can certainly sort dirty, clean, hang it up, right? So think about that. All right. And the problem with this is that these things go deep. It's usually like how we were raised, how we do this. Okay. So the other thing I want you to look at is your habits. Okay. Look at your habits. What time do you get up? What time do you go to bed? How could you make a small adjustment there that will work in your favor? And, do things like, review your systems. Emily's dad used to spend I don't know, really a lot of time every single day looking for his keys, because we lived in a building, and you have the key downstairs, you have the key upstairs, and then he'd put it in his coat pocket, or he'd put it, I don't know, a million different places, and that was time wasted. So I put a basket next to the front door, and I just said to him, do not put these anywhere except in the basket. So look at what kind of things that you're doing that are wasting time, that if you just put a system in place, like a hook for your key, which is what I have now, that you could be saving time by not struggling. And then also think about, like, how long are you on your phone, on Instagram? And is that really getting you where you want to go? Probably not. And think about how you can add time to your day. How can you add the time back? Now, we talked about your language a little bit before, and I want to dive into that pretty deeply here, because this is critical. When we talk to ourselves, we believe ourselves. So first of all, we've talked about this a lot. I don't want you to believe every thought that's in your head. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. And I want you to talk about time in a different way. So if you're constantly telling yourself or complaining out loud you don't have enough time, you're contributing to the problem. If you're complaining and talking out loud about how you don't have enough time, you're contributing to the problem. That is very important, okay? Mindset plays a huge role in how we experience the time we have. So instead of noticing the time you don't have, I want you to start celebrating the time you've spent in a way that brings you joy or gets you closer to a goal. Acknowledge your wins out loud, okay, by telling a friend or a family member, and it might sound silly, but it's critical. So Greg does not really know what I do in here in my office all day. He has an idea, but if I went out to him and I told him what I was working on, he would look at me like, what? So this is what I do. I go out in the kitchen and I say, I just did this thing that I was struggling with, and I did a good job, and I'm done. Boom, high five, right? That's what I do. So you don't have, because otherwise we're going to get into this whole conversation and he's going to have thoughts about it that I don't really want to talk about. I just want to celebrate, right? So don't complicate your celebrations by feeling like the person has to approve of what you've done. You can do that yourself, right? And then just really, just get the acknowledgement that you need, okay? Now, friends and family have scolded me. They have definitely scolded me over the years, thinking that my house should be more organized or my laundry shouldn't pile up, and those comments really used to get in my way. I on Saturdays for decades, I would do my laundry and I would fold it and I'd put it away. Now I do my laundry when I run out of something. I notice, oh, I have one more pair of yoga pants. I better throw the laundry in, or gee, I only have, a couple more pairs of socks. Let's handle this. So don't feel like you have to stick to a routine of shoulds when it comes to how you use your time. All right. Because here's the thing. I would way more rather go for a bike ride with Greg than have a perfect house. I'd rather have a successful business than a job. And I know that there are some things that you want, that changing how your relationship with time will help. Now, one of the things that I do, let me just grab a 3x5 card here, is that I decide every morning. Now, this is really important. Okay. So listen up to this. I decide every morning, what are the 1 or 2 things I'm going to do before I go to bed. No kidding. No kidding. Okay. And that's what I focus on first. And yes, other things are in my life around it, like lunch or client meetings or, things that have to happen. But, I decide ahead of time, what am I going to do? I put it right in front of me, and that's the focus for the day. So when I find myself distracted, which we all do, I've been distracted about, I don't really, probably 5 times. It's not even 11 o'clock at this, in the morning, but I have found myself over here. And then I think, don't do that, go back, and then I'm over here because I'm thinking about something, or I get an email, or I'm checking my email to see if someone can meet with me later. And, and I'm shifting my focus. And so it's really important to work on one thing at a time. That will elongate your time like you can't even believe, because when you multitask, You're starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And all that starting and stopping, it wastes time. It wastes time. So for me to take this, this download freebie download on networking secrets for introverts and to really sit with it for hours at a time, it's going to be a different result. It's going to be completed in a completely different, in a very different way. And so when you can do that. And then also on your list, have things that you can do in 5, 10, 15 minute increments, right? So if you finish something and you've got a few minutes before the next thing, be prepared. Be prepared. I just did that a few minutes ago. There was a client and I needed to do some social media scheduling. I had about 10 minutes and I could have easily walked around my house, gotten something to eat, unpacked my suitcase. But I thought, you know what? 10 minutes is plenty of time to handle this. Let's just get this off the list. Let's just handle it because it had to be handled today. So please think about your time. All right. So let's see what Heather says. Time tracking helps me see how I'm prioritizing my time. They are right. Are they in line with what I think my priorities? That's right. That's right. And I do ask myself that question all the time because it's really easy to get distracted by a shoe sale that I see in an email on my computer, and all of a sudden I'm shoe shopping. I don't need any shoes, but they're red and they're suede, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to this party. That could be really cool. No. That doesn't meet any of my priorities of staying focused on my work, saving money for a house. Red shoes, they're in the moment, right? And they're just going to be another pair of shoes in my closet. And I would much rather have my priorities handled. Okay, so definitely think about this. It's really important. It's Stephen Covey says, think about it like I don't know if he was talking about time, but life, I guess. If you have a big jar, put the big rocks in first, family, your business, all of that. And then all the little rocks will be the things that you'll fit in here and there. But once you start to really take charge of your schedule and take charge of your time and how you think about it and talk about it, those mindset shifts are absolutely life-changing. They really are. All right. So I challenge you to, no, I'm not going to challenge you. I'm going to invite you. That's better, right? That's a mindset shift, right? I'm going to invite you to walk into this new way of thinking, to spend the rest of your day very intentionally noticing what you're doing, how you're spending your time, what you're investing literally your life in so that you can, have what you want. And one more thing I want to just throw in is that I had this thought yesterday. A lot of people say they're going to do something after the holidays, and this has to do with time. You're not going to wait till after the holidays. The holidays, if you're in the US, are over. Okay, we had Thanksgiving. That's done. It's now a regular Tuesday. The next holiday that I'm celebrating is Christmas Eve. And whatever you're going to celebrate, it's not probably tomorrow. So don't lump your whole life into after January 1st, okay? Be intentional with the time in between and don't fall into that trap of waiting for 6 weeks to, make a move in your business, okay? Or in your life, all right? Good. Thank you for coming today. It was great to have you. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. And I hope you'll join me here next week as well. All right. I'm Belinda Sandor signing off for now. Bye-bye.